Before religions had names, before philosophies built walls, there were quiet questions whispered to the universe. Who am I? What is real? What remains when everything else fades? The Upanishads were born from this silence. Not as commandments but as conversations, between teacher and seeker, between mind and truth. They do not ask you to believe. They invite you to see. Today we enter that ancient dialogue, not to learn something new but to remember something timeless. The dawn of knowing. There is a moment before the first light touches the world, when everything is still, when the air itself seems to remember something ancient. It is there in that quiet that the Upanishads begin, not with proclamation but with listening, not with argument but with wonder. Who am I? Whence do I come? What is this life that dreams itself through me? The seers sat beneath trees that had seen centuries pass. The rivers murmured beside them, and in that murmur they heard truth. They spoke not to convince but to remind. They spoke of the Ātman, the inner self, the unchanging witness. They spoke of Brahman, the boundless, the unspeakable, that which has no second. And they said in words as light as breath, all this, all that ever was and shall be, is Brahman. And you are that. No thunder followed. No temple rose from their words. Only stillness, deep, luminous, eternal stillness, and the faint sound of age. Earth awakening, the self. Beyond the self, the world teaches us to name, to divide, to say this is mine, and that is yours. But the sages of the Upanishads looked deeper, beneath the noise, beneath the self that hungers and fears. They saw a self that does not come or go, a self untouched by birth or death. Not the self that speaks your name, but the silence that hears it. The self is not born, they said, nor does it die. It was, it is, and it shall be, forever the witness of all change. When the sun sets, the light does not vanish. It only moves beyond the horizon of our sight. So too the soul. We are waves upon a timeless ocean, forgetting for a while that we are water. The Upanishads call us to remember, to peel away layer after layer of what we think we are, until nothing remains but the luminous knowing. I am. Not I am this, or I am that. Simply, I am. That awareness, pure and unbound, is Brahman itself, the infinite wreck, agnizing itself within. The finite, the flame in the heart, deep in the heart, beyond thought, beyond dream. There burns a small flame. The sages called it the light of lights. It shines in every being, yet no shadow can touch it. It is the same flame that gleams in the stars, that glows in the dawn, that dances in your pulse. In the heart of all things, the Chandogya says, there is a space, vast as the sky, and within that space dwells the whole universe. What a mystery, that within the finite body dwells the infinite. The Upanishads tell us, look not outward for the divine, for temples crumble and names fade, but look inward where silence breathes. There you will find it, the immortal, the ever-present, the still flame that neither wind nor time can touch. When the mind grows still, you feel it, a hum beneath all being, a quiet recognition that says, thou art that, I am that, all this is that. And in that moment, the world ceases to be a collection of things, to become, yes, a single, vast, shining awareness. And you are home. The great teaching, there comes a point in every seeking, when words no longer reach, when the mind, sharp and restless, must bow to something vaster. The sages knew this, that truth cannot be taught, only remembered. So they spoke in paradox, in poetry, in whispers that open doorways inside the listener. Brahman is the ear of the ear, the eye of the eye, the mind of the mind, the life of life. What does it mean? How can one know the knower? See the seer? The teaching was not meant for logic. It was meant for silence, to unsettle the surface so that depth could be revealed. And one day, under the quiet of a banyan tree, a student asked the master, what is Brahman? The teacher smiled and said nothing. Then softly, Neti, neti, not this, not that. For whatever you can name is not it. Whatever you can imagine, it transcends. Whatever you can hold, it has already passed through your fingers. The great teaching is not an answer. It is an unasking, a gentle erasure of illusion, until the real S shines forth on its. When the seeker stops seeking, the sought is found. The world as dreams sometimes when the night is deep and the body rests. A dream unfolds, vivid, complete, alive. And yet, when dawn arrives, it dissolves like mist. The sages looked at life and said, this too is dream. Not in cynicism, but in wonder. For if life is dream, then it is sacred play. A cosmic story told by consciousness to itself. As a spider sends forth its web, and draws it back again, so does Brahman project the universe from itself, and draw it in again. Every form, every moment, is but a ripple upon the still surface of the eternal. The dream of life is not false. It is divine imagination, woven from light, folded into matter. To awaken is not to reject the world, but to see it for what it is, a reflection shimmering upon the water, real only in its source. And when that recognition dawns, when the dreamer remembers it is dreaming, the world glows differently. The same faces, the same streets, but now everything hums with quiet holiness. Each wreath becomes sacred. Ch sound a hymn. For behind every fleeting thing, the infinite smiles. The silence of the seer beyond knowing, beyond belief, beyond doubt. There is silence. Not the silence of absence, but the silence that listens to the whole world breathing. The seer rests there, not as one who withdraws, but as one who sees through all appearance, the thread that runs through the pearls. When all desires that dwell in the heart are gone, says the Katha Upanishad, then the mortal becomes immortal, and attains Brahman even here, not in some distant heaven, but in this very breath, the seeing, this being. The silence of the seer is not escape, it is union. It is knowing that nothing needs to be added or removed, that the eternal has always been so. The trees whisper it, the rivers chant it, the wind carries it in invisible hymns. You are that. And when that truth sinks deep, the heart ceases its restless searching. The eyes once turned outward turn inward, and the vastness opens. Silence becomes the language of understanding. The seer smiles, not at the world but as the world. The breath of the eternal. Before thought, before form, there was breath. Not the breath that enters the lungs, but the breath that moves through all things. The rhythm by which the universe inhales and exhales itself. The sages called it pra, the unseen pulse of life. The subtle wind that animates being. From the self comes life. From life, breath. From breath, the worlds. Every heartbeat, every tide, every cycle of creation is the eternal breathing. When you breathe in deeply and listen to the silence between the breaths, you are touching the source. It is the same breath that stirs the ocean, that moves the stars, that whispers through leaves at twilight. And when the individual breath returns to the universal, when the small rhythm merges with the great, there is no more boundary, only vast, shimmering stillness. As fire becomes one with fire, as water becomes one with water, so the soul becomes one with the eternal. Life itself is meditation, an endless inhalation and exhalation of the divine, remembering itself. The body is temple to the modern eye. The body seems flesh and bone, a vessel, a structure of passing cells. But the seers saw something more. They saw the body as sacred geography. Each sense, each nerve, each heartbeat, a shrine of the infinite. Within this body made of food, there lies another made of light, says the Taittiriya Upanishad. And within that, the body of joy. The body is not to be denied. It is to be sanctified. A bridge between visible and invisible, matter and spirit. In its stillness, the mind learns peace. In its breath, the soul remembers unity. When you close your eyes and feel the pulse behind your ribs, you are kneeling at an altar older than time. There the infinite speaks, not in words but in sensation, in the warmth of blood, in the quiet miracle of being alive. The Upanishads never sought to escape the world. They sought to see it truly, to find the sacred in the ordinary, the divine shimmering through every atom of the human form. For where else would the infinite dwell, if not here? This body, in this breath, in this moment, the infinite within. There comes a turning point in every soul's journey, when the search outward collapses inward, when the pilgrim realizes that the temple he sought was never a place, but a presence. The Upanishads guide us to that threshold. The self, smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, dwells in the heart of every being. Close your eyes. Let the world fade to stillness. There, in the quiet space behind the eyes, you will sense it, a vastness without edge, a presence without name. It does not come or go. It has no birth, no death. It simply is. All that you love, all that you fear, all that you think yourself to be, are ripples upon that infinite sea. When you rest in that awareness, you awaken from the ancient dream. You see that everything you have ever sought is already here, within. Thou art that. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Not as belief, but as direct knowing. Like fire knowing its own heat. Like the wave realizing it is water. The infinite was never elsewhere. Was always looking out through your own eyes. The teacher and the flame. In the beginning there was not the book, nor the doctrine, but the meeting. A teacher, a student, a silence between them. That silence was the Upanishad. The wisdom that does not pass through speech, but through presence. The teacher would look upon the student, as one looks upon a reflection in still water, seeing not the questioner, but the divine asking through him. Tell me, Master, what is truth? And the teacher would answer, not with certainty, but with a question deeper still. Who is the one that asks? This was the secret of transmission. Not knowledge given, but a spark ignited. For truth is not handed down like an heirloom. It is awakened. As one flame kindles another, the outer word points inward, and there the hidden fire begins to glow. The true teacher knows that the student's self and the absolute are not two, that the master's voice is but the echo of the eternal within. The seeker, when the veil lifts, the teacher and the taught vanish. Only light remains, the great return. All rivers, no matter how far they wander, find their way to the sea. So too all souls, through joy and sorrow, through countless dawns, flow back to their source. The Upanishads call this the great return. From the outer to the inner, from the many to the one, from time to the timeless. As rivers flow into the ocean, losing name and form, so the wise, freed from desire, merge into the infinite self. It is not annihilation. It is remembrance. The drop does not vanish into the sea. It awakens to its boundlessness. The path is subtle. Not a journey in space, but a soft reversal of perception. One no longer looks for the divine, but as the divine. Every breath becomes homecoming. Every act, a return to stillness. When all striving ends, what remains is peace. A peace vast enough to hold the stars. The mind dissolves into the self, like mist into morning light, and the traveler discovers that he never truly left. The ocean of consciousness. In the end there is no end, only vastness. Imagine an ocean without shore or bottom, where every wave is aware of itself, and of all others. That ocean is consciousness, the eternal Brahman, not distant, but immediate, intimate, alive. It is the witness of every thought, the light behind every perception, the space within every moment. All this universe is Brahman, whispers the Mandukya Upanishad. From it do all things arise, in it do they rest, into it do they return. You are that awareness. You are the ocean itself, forgetting, for a moment, that you were ever a wave. When realization dawns, the boundaries melt. The eye that once grasped and feared becomes transparent, like a window finally clean, through which infinity looks at itself. The world remains. Trees, rivers, voices, laughter. But now all of it glows with the same sacred radiance. There is no separation left, only the play of consciousness, dancing as form and formlessness. This is the supreme teaching, not written, but lived in stillness. To see the one in all, and all in the one. To know that the breath, the body, the teacher, the sky, are all the same Lumi, new self, dreaming its own awakening. And thus the seers fell silent. For what more can be said, when the speaker and the spoken have become one? The fire of knowledge. There are many kinds of fire. The fire that warms, the fire that destroys, the fire that transforms. But the highest of all is the fire of knowledge. Not knowledge of books or words, but the knowing that burns illusion to ash. When the truth is seen, says the Mundaka Upanishad, all the knots of the heart are cut, all doubts are dissolved, and the chain of birth and death is broken. This fire does not consume, it purifies. It burns away the false I, the layers of shadow mistaken for self. Like gold purified in flame, the soul emerges radiant, untouched, indivisible. When the fire of knowledge burns, nothing remains to cling to. The past, the future, even the idea of me, all melt into light. What remains is clarity, still, boundless, eternal. And in that clarity, everything is seen as it truly is, the divine playing in endless forms. To know this is not to withdraw from life. It is to live with open eyes, to walk through the world, and see it blazing quietly, with the light of the one. The fire of knowledge is not separate from you. It burns in your awareness even now. softly, patiently, waiting for the moment. Yustio. Be running from its warmth, the still point after the fire, silence. After the revelation, peace. The sages spoke of a point where all movement ceases, not in death, but in perfect balance. The still point, the center around which all things turn, yet which itself does not move. It is the heart of meditation, the axis of the cosmos, the breath between breaths. He who knows the unmoving, amid the moving, the eternal among the fleeting, he alone sees truly. At that center, opposites dissolve. There is no light or dark, no inner or outer, no birth, no end, only the unmoving awareness, in which all arises and fades. The still point is not found. It is revealed. When the turbulence of thought settles, when the mind releases its need to grasp, then, in a space too subtle for words, one feels it, a silence that is alive, a stillness that is infinite. From there, everything radiates. From there, everything returns. It is not a state to reach, but the truth of what you already are. Sit quietly. Let the world pass through you like wind through reeds. The still point wait. Not elsewhere, but here. Beneath the noise of being, liberation in life, liberation, moksha, is not a distant reward. It is not an afterlife, nor a destination beyond the stars. It is freedom. Here now, in the midst of the living world. The Upanishads whisper that the liberated one does not vanish from life, but moves through it like clear water, touched by nothing, reflecting everything. He who knows the self, says the Brihadaranyaka, becomes the self of all. His sorrow ends. For whom should he grieve? Liberation is not escape. It is intimacy. To live without fear, without attachment, without resistance to what is. The liberated being walks softly. He sees himself in every face, hears himself in every voice. He knows that the divine does not reside in heaven. It resides in every atom of existence. To such a one, even the simplest act, drinking water, touching earth, breathing, is sacred. There is no longer a doer and the done, only the eternal unfolding itself. As this dance of moments, the body may grow old, the world may change, but within, the luminous silence abides untouched. This is Jivanmukti, liberation while living, to awaken within the dream, and walk it with love, with calm, with the quiet joy of one who knows. There is nothing left to seek, and when such a one leaves the world, the sages say, he does not depart, for where see, ooled the infinite, go, he dissolves gently, like fragrance into the air, like light into light. The song of unity all through creation, a single song is being sung. You can hear it in the wind through bamboo, in the cry of a newborn, in the hush that follows thunder. It is not a song of many voices. It is one voice, heard through countless instruments. The sages called this song Om, the primordial vibration, the sound that is silence made audible. Om is all this, says the Mandukya Upanishad. The past, the present, the future, all are but Om. And whatever transcends time, that too is Om. When the heart grows still enough to listen, this song reveals itself not as something apart, but as the very hum of one's own being. Everything sings it. The stars in their courses, the pulse in your wrist, the unfolding of a leaf. It is the sound of unity, the endless refrain of the one, echoing within itself. To chant Om is not to make sound. It is to remember soundlessness, to tune the little breath, to the breath of the cosmos. When awareness rests in that vibe, ration, divisio, and disappears. There is no longer this or that, only the music of existence, singing itself into eternity. The eternal now. There is a time that does not pass, a moment so wide, that all moments live within it. The Upanishads call it the eternal now. In that which is changeless, time itself arises and dissolves. We think of time as a river, but the seers saw it differently. Not a current we travel, but a mirror we look through. The past is memory, the future, imagination. Only this presence, this awareness, this single shimmering now, has ever truly been. When the mind rests in that now, the world stops rushing. The stars cease to move. The heart knows it has never left home. Every before and every after fold inward, like waves returning to the sea. The eternal now is not reached by effort. It is realized when striving ends. Sit quietly, and you may feel it. This eternal pulse beneath the seconds. This still rhythm inside all motion. It is the same now, in which the ancien Rishis sat, Same now in which you listen, the same now that will outlast the sun. All awakening happens here. For there is nowhere else. The golden beyond, and then, at the edge of language, there is light. A light not of the sun or stars, but of consciousness itself. Golden, boundless, the final horizon of the Upanishadic vision. They called it the golden beyond, where the known and the knower dissolve, where even the idea of enlightenment melts into pure being. There the sun does not shine, nor the moon nor the stars. Lightning does not illumine it, nor earthly fire. By its light all is lit. This is not a place, it is the recognition that all places, all moments, are already radiant from within. When the last thought fades, when even I am dissolves into quiet knowing, what remains is this, the unbroken vastness, the self of all selves, the peace that is both silence and song. The seers fell silent before it, for speech belongs to duality, and here there are no two. There is only the infinite, the golden, the ever-present beyond. It shines not somewhere else, but through every heartbeat, every breath, every act of seeing and being. The journey ends where it began, in stillness. But now the stillness is luminous, alive with awareness. The Upanishads close not with conclusion, but with quiet, the kind of quiet that contains all answers. And as that quiet deepens, a final whisper remains, soft as dawn across the soul. Tat tvam asi. Thou art that. There is a hush that falls when truth is near, not the silence of emptiness, but of fullness too vast for words. The Upanishads do not end. They dissolve like mist at sunrise, leaving only clarity. And in that clarity, you begin to see differently. The ordinary becomes radiant. The breath becomes sacred. The self you thought you were becomes transparent. A window through which the infinite gazes. What were the sages trying to tell us? That the distance between you and the eternal was only ever imagined. That the search, the seeker, and the sought are one and the same light, playing as three. Listen quietly, and you can still feel their voices moving through time, not as sound, but as presence. The rustle of leaves, the hum of the world, the pulse beneath your ribs, all whisper the same truth. Thou art that. The journey was never outward. It was a remembering, the self returning to itself. Close your eyes. There is no past to fix, no future to reach, only this timeless awareness, soft, unbroken, watching all things rise and fade. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. And when you know this, not as thought, but as direct seeing, there is a quiet joy that never leaves. The sages smiled into the horizon, and left no footprints, for they had become the horizon itself. Their words still glow across centuries, not as relics, but as living fire, reminding all who listen, that the light they asked was always their own, soft breath. This is Vedira, a listening space between words and silence, where ancient wisdom meets the stillness of now. Until we meet again, breathe gently, see widely, and remember, you were never apart from the eternal.